Alright y'all, welcome. M Capo here, Black Adonis Games, working on The Lesser God. I want to start the video off by thanking any new subscribers that may have subscribed since the last time I posted a video. I appreciate it, man. I'm in the early phases of all this, and I'm really considering getting someone, well, not considering, I am going to have someone taking over doing the whole internet part of this. I really don't have time. I need to focus on the production and getting things up to spec for a demo. So anyway, today's main focus on the video is going to be the spawners. So let's get into it. This, I guess you could say, is the part 2 of the spawner. I'm gonna show y'all a little bit of it. Also, I did add some characters from the stylized female kit. Let's check it out. Let's go in, see what we got. Through the wall. Oh, okay. Here's one of the females now.
Energy.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and get up to a spawner here right quick. Getting plenty of weapons, which is nice, so I ain't gotta worry about fumbling around too much. Go ahead and trade this off for this. Try for a launcher, just makes the job get done a little quicker. I don't have one, so I got one more place I could check, but anyway, here's a spawner. This is what I've been working on. It looks really nice for my project. It's the way I like it. As you can see, when I hit it, the remaining life is there, so I have it actually as a destroyable enemy now. I do have things I want to do with it still, but there you go. You can see that as it gets under 75% of its life there, damage starts to show. Take it down more now, under 50%, because its full life was 20,000. So now once it's under that percentage, you see it catches on fire there in the top. I will have those things randomized by game time as well, where the fires are and how much and what they look like. Okay, so you can see here it's going even more. So now it's under 5. You can see now there's some little electrical things starting to go wrong with the spawner. Also, you will see and notice that my frames are still relatively well. I don't have them posted up, but they're still doing really well. You can just tell by the image. Alright, so now we're approaching 2,000. Now it's really looking bad. You can hear all the sounds going off there. Alright, so and there it is. Okay, and I'm gonna go do another one because I didn't get to show the full effect of that one. And I'm still working on some things like the timing. The way that the slow motion is popping, you can almost see it explode before the explosion per se. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one here. You can see I expanded the Niagara effect on the ground here, so it's much larger now. It looks a lot more intergalactic. I like the whole look of this a lot better. And I can say they've been working fairly flawlessly here. Getting that health down quick. And you will not have this much weaponry when you start facing these. This is really some maxed out. Everything you usually see in the videos is maxed out right now. For now at least. Pretty soon I probably won't show any more of the new weapons and things, except for in just little short promotional videos and things like that. But anyway, here we go. Not too bad. Now watch everything get sucked in. A little bit. Okay, and I'm still working on it a little bit, but yeah, it looks pretty good, y'all. Here's the spawner, man. This is what it's looking like. You can see here where the digits are for things. You can see all the effects popping off, the destruction effects, things like that. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the spawner. Should have it open already here, so I'm gonna go ahead and close all the other tabs so we can just focus on this one for now. So basically this is the spawner. Let me go ahead and open this up. You can see here I keep things on hand for when I need them. These are the elements that are over here, you know, the static mesh, destructible, and I haven't named everything what I want to name it yet, but I can understand what they are here. So anyway, in the beginning of this, what I'm doing here, just so you guys can see it here in the viewport one more time, we have all of these effects on. So all I'm simply doing is setting the visibility of all these to not be true, so that they are not visible, because I don't want to see all these particles in the beginning. And just to give you an example, I could select all of these particles and type visibility here, and boom, I could click this, and what do you get? You get the spawner without any of those effects visible. So basically that's all I'm doing, so that in game you do not see any of the spawn effects. Okay. The health, the way I'm using this right now, I don't know how I'm gonna have it in game. I'll probably end up going with the widget because of the flexibility, but this is much better than, I hate the print screen where it gives you like 10,000 copies of what's happening when you want to print the health. So I just thought this is a much nicer setup for prototyping. So, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so that's basically all that's doing, is making all those things not visible and you see them in game. Of course, when I'm working, I like to have all of those things actually be visible. And the reason is because I need to be able to make adjustments, things of that nature. So I would usually leave all of these things visible, as you can see. So we're going to turn them back on so that we have all of our elements here visible. And I believe I got everybody back on. Yeah, there we go. So that's what it is. So basically what I have going on when we get back in here is, after I set everything to be invisible, I set the health here, which I have basically set right now. Let me clear this out so we can see our variables and things. I got it set at 20,000. This activate and deactivate thing, this is for something else that I'm working on, has nothing to do with this. So disregard that, it really isn't affecting anything right now. But the spawn device itself here, that is the device here. I showed this already in the other blueprint, guys, so just watch the other video. First video I explained this more. I'm gonna get more into what I did here. This is with I broke off and did a tick here I don't like using ticks, but this type of tick is relatively simple and clean, and it's not really putting a burden on anything as far as I've noticed. It hasn't increased or decreased my milliseconds by any amount that's noticeable. So, performance remained pretty much the same. So anyway, all I did was I have it doing its regular thing that it does, its regular checks. Like I said, if you want to know more about that, it's in the last video. Right here it ticks off, and I got it just going in order, and basically by the amount of health that's remaining, it's basically doing checking the condition, and it's firing this off once every time it checks the condition. That way it doesn't just lay on it, but keeps it, I don't know, it just makes it, to me it's functioning a lot better when I use the do onces, the do once node. It just worked better, so I'm using it. On this particular node here, for some reason, with this single fire, the do once caused it to only fire once. So excuse me, so I had to change it up. And anyway, what these are doing is basically coming out here doing a check and then firing the effect, and if that effect has a sound, it's also firing the sound, but it's setting the visibility back to being visible. So basically, if it's true, if the health is under 15,000, what is it going to do? It's going to fire off this first effect, which is Electric 2, which if we go here and I click on it, you'll see what the effect is. Boom, it's those sparks that you see. So when we first saw the first level, when it first got to under 75% of the health, 15,000, this effect started splashing off. So that's pretty much the same, the gist of it throughout the whole project. Not the whole project, I'm sorry, but the whole spawner. That's the gist of how this works, and it's just doing checks at the next health level, which is 10,000, and it just keeps ticking this off and checking, and if this condition is true, then it'll go and it'll turn on the next thing, which is the smoke and fire that we saw. So that's the smoke particle, just the first one, which is here, and it's fire green loop. I'm gonna click on that, and you can see, boom, that's the green fire. So that's all that's happening, guys, is that it's checking the condition and then it's firing this off. There's no particular order these have to be in, because the condition, if I move these around, they would all work exactly the same, because it has nothing to do with the order they're being checked in. It just has to do with if this condition is met. So if this condition is met, it's going to fire off to do what's in the true branch. False, I have it set to do nothing. So that way, if it's false, it doesn't do anything. It just, boom, continues, checks back again later. So that's how that works. As far as the explosion part, that's a whole nother ball game. So basically the way I have it set up is I have the health being printed to text render object. I'm gonna go way more into this text render object. You can do some cool things with this. As far as compared to widget, the heaviness of it, I'm not a professional on the subject of that alone, but I don't know, something about it seems like it would be heavier to me than a widget, but widgets can get pretty heavy too, so it may be lighter. I'm gonna play around with it and see. I'm gonna try it on some characters for some health levels, and just try it out. But basically the way I have it set up is that you just basically taking the health, event any damage, and I have it here in case it's a different type of damage here, any other type of damages. it's doing a condition check to see if your health is below 0. If it's not, I have them both doing the same thing. If it's not less than 0, then they're both defaulting down here, and they're just going to set the visibility once again, like you saw in the other part. If you go to the viewport here of the health text, so the health text is, where is that at? Right here. So this is the text render object, so you can see it says health. So that is it. So when we're setting this to be visible, then after 6 seconds, so if it's not visible after 6 seconds, if we don't touch it again, it's going to turn its visibility back off. And I'm going to work on this fading out, which will involve me messing with this material here, I'm sure. Some other types of materials where you can set some fade options and things like that. So but I'm going to definitely, like I said, get into this more. This deserves a video by itself because I had a learning experience with the letters being cut off when I was trying to render my own fonts. As you can see, I did render my own font, and I didn't use the default Roboto font that comes with it. So anyway, once again, it does this check, and I basically got it taking this health value and sending it to a text float. I'm using a group in, have it on, and I have it half to even, and then I have the maximum fractional digits to 0 because the number's already large, 20,000. Then I'll have like 0.175, 0.17, you know, and I don't need it to be that on point. So just round it to the next closest digit. So that will help you if you're having problems and you're doing this, and you see you have too many numbers, and you just want it to be rounded off. That's what you do. And then I got the maximum integral of digits, and then the minimum digits as 1. Okay, so that's how I had that set up. Then you go here, this is the text render object, which I dragged from here, and we're just going to set the text for this render object to be this health. So that's all this is doing, taking this health and it's sending it to this text render object. So that's how we're getting that accomplished. After that, if it is true that this goes below 0, and that's for both of these, once again, they're both doing the same check for different conditions. So then we could take this, plug it in here. We're gonna have this do this once. It's gonna come over here, it's gonna do this slow time motion effect, and I do a video on that too, probably coming up soon. That's like I said, some of these things are a video in themselves. These are things that I've just been discovering on my own here and figuring out how to do some of them and seeing them in projects and other things that I've been working on. So at this point, I set the slow motion, and then I changed the collision for the destructible meshes. As you can see here, both of these are destructibles. That's what this symbol is, and it's a destructible component. And when you see this little blue icon with the little broken box, look there, that's a destructible mesh if you're new to the game. So you can see my settings here, that is movable and all those things. So I set the collision to be enabled because in the beginning I have the collision not be enabled because well, I have it enabled, but I have it set a certain way so that it only reacts to certain characters and things like that. I don't want it to just be reactive when somebody runs into it or walks into it. I want it to just block them but not necessarily break because someone walks into the object. So these are the things that I've been working on and trying to perfect them and get them better and smoother, but that's what the collision comes on. And this is, like I said, this is after it's been triggered to explode. The health is below 0. So now it's not going to show this visibility of this anymore. It's going to turn this health off because, and that's what it's doing here. It's going to enter the slow time at the settings that I have set, 35th. This is 35% of full speed movement. And then I got it set to do that for 3 seconds, which actually makes it longer than 3 seconds because you have to take that 3 seconds now. And if you times it by this, it's going to give you probably like close to 9 or 10, pretty close to 8 or 9 seconds or something like that. It's just it's going to be more than 3 seconds because the time is slowed down over that 3 seconds. So it's going to feel longer, as you've seen in the explosion. So then after I do that, turn on this collision, about a half second later, I spawn this explosion. Now this I'm wanting to get rid of, and I'm actually going to try that. So the way I would do that is to move it here and just move this to the side and remove that half a second, because that's that little bit of time before it blows up where it looks like you already see it fracturing. So we want that to happen right away. I may have to add another effect that spawns sooner, but we'll figure that out. Anyway, at this point it can apply damage, which I have set up here, and then it moves on to another little short delay, and I put delays in to give things time to move around. Sometimes it makes things actually run a lot smoother if you add delays than having a bunch of commands stacked right back to back on top of each other. Can sometimes cause some little bottlenecks and things like that. So just something I learned over time working in the engine. So keep that in mind when you're doing things. If you have some things that are seeming like you bottlenecking and you just added this blueprint, go into the blueprint, see what it's doing, and check to see if you have some delays between some of the events that are occurring to give things time to be processed. Anyway, so now we go here to where we dissolve all of these bodies, which I'm basically shrinking down. And this is the thing that I've discovered, is how to break the destructible mesh without using force, because I had radial force here, and if you look here, you will see I don't have any radial force. So what ends up happening is that when I shrink these components at the speed that I'm shrinking them here, which is, if you look here, it's over a 10-second period of time, I'm shrinking these down. So over that 10 seconds, when I shrink these down from 1, which is full size, to 0, these meshes destroy themselves. Like, these destructibles cave under the pressure of being shrunk down. And it's not really costing me very much at all compared to me trying to destroy them and other things where you may have to just capture the explosion and then have it play back during gameplay. This right here actually made it smooth enough for me to show you guys how I just showed it to you. And this is an engine. This is not a shipped, package. It's going to be even better in a shipped packaged game. So I was like tipping my hat to this whole situation, because I learned something here, that the destructible mesh actually caves under the pressure of just being folded down. Also, I added the explosive force because it was doing it without anything, but I added the explosive force here merely to destroy actors that were in the radius whose health is below this amount of health. They'll be destroyed. I'm actually about to increase this now, to be honest. So I'm gonna actually move this to 2,000. I want most characters to not be able to withstand that amount of what's happening there in the damage. But anyway, this shrinks down, and when you dissolve these parts, the destructibles fold under the pressure, and they actually explode under the pressure of being shrunk down. So this is something to know, guys, if you are working with destructible meshes, that it is possible to destroy them without having to use radial force or anything like that. The radial force and things was actually causing me to have more problems trying to make that happen. The explosive actor that I have in place is much smoother, but I don't really need it to cause the explosion. So if you just want the explosion for the look and you don't want the explosion to have any effect on any other characters, you can get rid of or not worry about having this and save yourself more game memory. So then here I had another set visibility here, but and that's for the wind particle, which is the big whirlwind that we see here that everything ends up getting sucked back into, which is not as smooth as I want it yet, but we'll get to that over time. Sets that visibility in the sequence, and then from there it goes here and starts all the explosions. Okay, so this is where I have to make one change, and I'm thinking in this time that I'm losing something. So what I wanted to do is to move one of these explosions over. So let's try that real quick. We got one whole set of explosions right here. And so what we was gonna do is move these up, put this here, take this, and we're gonna plug this straight into the 1 second delay. Break the link here. Yeah, let's try this and see if this works better in the future. But anyway, regardless, this is just one of many explosions that are taking place, and this is it choosing a random explosion particle effect that I designed prior to building a blueprint. So I have some options of colors and things like that. Also, we have the sizes of the explosions, which I need to manipulate and work on still. So we'll get to those too and change them up. But this is basically just a whole sequence of exactly the same thing, explosions with delays between them to give the engine time to process the particles and things like that and just make everything run smoother. So, you know, as I scroll through here, I have them also set up to spawn these explosive emitters, at least some of them, in random locations in the radius of the spawn device. So within a certain range of this device, it's just going to randomly spawn this and give it a random rotation. So, you know, just give it a little bit more of a realistic effect than all the explosions and the particles all facing the same direction. So I use a lot of randomness in my projects. I'm sure it costs me a little because it does take time to process that random thought, but I found that it's actually lighter for it to choose a random thought than it is for you to put in something that's definite and the engine to have to calculate it. So think about it in real life terms. For you to think something random, you just thinking it random, you relaxed and you just think it. But if you are given a subject and told you have to think about it, it's a little bit more difficult than just saying, hey, come up with a random thought. You might say anything at that point. So just look at it like that. So anyway, I have the reward system here, and then after that, it destroys this actor, okay? Now the only problem I was having was it destroying some sound effects that were looped, and so that's when I had to go to doing some things with do once nodes and things like that I showed you up here. So that's pretty much how it is, guys. If you got questions on it, you know, you can definitely leave me a comment and I'll hit you back with it, the answer if I have it. So Anyway, that's it for today, man. I'm exhausted, man. I've been doing a lot of work, so I appreciate y'all stopping by, man. Sort of a tutorial, and I guess, oh no, I wanted to show y'all the characters too, so I didn't even go into the characters. I just don't want the video to be too long, so I'll do the characters in a different video. This will just be the spawner, and I'll go into the characters in another video. So I appreciate y'all stopping by, man. Am Capo, Black Adonis Games.